Alright, you two. Let's get along. Just because you don't believe everything he says doesn't mean it's not true. And I know you're stretching the truth, but that's okay. Big Fish. It was a funny movie. It was really good. I saw it years ago. Not the whole entire thing. It was one of those, the kids were watching this movie. It was annoying. It was strange, and I didn't want anything to do with it. But this is the first time I got to see it in its entirety, and my only question is, who the hell got a hold of my life and put it on the screen like that? Scary. As an older generation of the CtfxCinema and Talia, us parents may sometimes exaggerate the truth, but if you really start digging, you find out there is a truth. The story is about a guy whose father is dying of cancer. And he says, I just want to get to know you. I just want to get to know who you are. Not realizing that Dad's been telling him who he was all along. He just wasn't paying attention. Dad kind of exaggerated the story a bit. But in the end, he was still telling the truth. And I'd like to know what was in that swimming pool when the guy was working on the swimming pool. Something big was in it, and it was scary. And the guy started going through Dad's stuff, and he found evidence of um, that some of what Dad was saying was true. And then when he uh, found some paperwork, he thought Dad was having an affair or wasn't, just ignoring his family. When come all along, Dad always loved his family. So, and the reason why I say this story is so true is because I just lost my dad this last year. He had a lake. He built a house right by the lake. And I would tell stories about how you could step out on the back dock, open the doors, and cast a line and do your fishing. Not too far off the facts. You might have to have a little bit of a good arm to do the tossing, but yeah. Um, Dad was a good storyteller. He taught us kids how, told us about when he was in the Marines and taught us how to shoot, taught us, he was a cowboy type person, so he taught me how to do this stuff. And I kind of miss the old man. And when I saw that dad in the movie, being freed like that fish, he turns into a fish and swims off. I was thinking something like that with my dad, but let's just say I sent my dad off in a more interesting way. What's really sad is people wait until their parents are dying or are gone before they really try to find out who they are. It's like, yeah, I know you're my mom and all that kind of stuff, but you don't really get to know who they are. And I spent, I don't know, about a year, few months anyway, helping my mom go through my dad's things before he died, because he had Alzheimer's, so he couldn't tell me. And I was trying to put together a nice little thing for him. And I learned so much about my dad during that time. And the stories that he told me came to life when I found pictures and documents and things like that. And it was kind of neat to hear my mom talking about when she was a kid, because I've always known my mom to be this prim and proper lady who always does certain things. And now she's, it's fun to find out that my mom used to be a tomboy, Which I think it's funny because it always ticked her off so much because I was a tomboy. And my son, when he was little, I couldn't tell him the whole truth about what was going on with Mom, because that was just not something you talk about with your kids when they're that young. And so as he grew, of course, I'd tell him the truth, but, I didn't quite tell him the whole story, type of thing. And so when he got older, now he's 23 years old, just got out of service, been through a lot. And one day he was like, Mom, you don't know how I feel, you don't know what I've been through, you don't know. And I'm like, sit down, I have a story to tell you. And it's kind of an eye-opener for my son to find out what kind of life I had before kids, type of thing. I used to be a model, used to be a truck driver. Told him some stories about his dad. Granted, not everything's wonderful, but I've told him some pretty wild stuff that we've done, and he was like, I've done that. And I'm like, yep, so did your dad and your mother. So it was interesting to get closer to my son during that time. And you guys, Allie, I know you guys are recording everything. Your kids are going to see these videos. I know for a fact, I'm in my 50s, child. I know for a fact that your videos are maybe 10 minutes out of the day, and I'm pretty sure there's a whole lot more to the story than what we're seeing. But that's okay. We don't need to know, but it's going to be fun when your kids find out. But it's a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. I would recommend it. I think that it was just funny. It was just funny to see how, the guy was fighting his dad so much, and little by little he started finding evidence that Dad was telling the truth all along. Exaggerated maybe, but he had been telling the truth all along. And when his dad died, when it came time for the funeral, all these people in all these stories that he heard are there, and he just couldn't believe there really was these people. That really did happen. So a lot of stuff happened. So I think it's a really good movie. I give it a 9 mustaches. My biggest thing about the movie is it brings home a point, which is get to know your family, get to know your parents, get to know the people that you care about before they're gone. You may not like their stories, but you may find out there's some truth, and there's a lot to learn from them, and appreciate them while you have them. I promise you. I know. So, we're gonna make up? Huh? Have a good one.